Morning. And Dorothy.
Hi, Kiana. How you doing on these early hours?
I am struggling a little bit, to be honest. Yep.
All good, all good. Me too. I got some tea.
Yep, I've got my coffee. So, okay, my friend gave me the cutest. Can you even see this? It's a Pocahontas mug.
Yeah,
She
I
gave
love
this to
the art
me.
style.
She gave it
Oh
to
my
me for
gosh.
Christmas, and it makes me so happy.
I saw
I love
Kenzie's got a mug
Pocahontas.
too. We've all got our mugs.
Yes,
Hi, Sarah.
our caffeine.
That's so cute too, Kenzie. I love it looks like it was like hand drawn, almost the
Yeah,
hand.
Got it. It's huge too. I don't know if you can
yeah.
tell, it's like massive.
It's as big as your face.
I know. I love it. I'm so happy.
That's amazing.
How are you guys?
We were just talking about this. We are struggling to be awake
so
right
scared.
now, just a little bit.
I'm so scared for today.
I know. I signed up for so many workshops today specifically, and I looked back at the schedule and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I feel that. I'm
Yeah.
like, why did I do that?
Training days are always like just intense. Like they're intense. You work as much as you can. And then you live with the consequences.
pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, AJ.
Hello.
AJ, are you working in person this semester?
I am, but not the first 2 weeks. And
Okay,
it's only
same.
2 hours a week on Mondays. So I'm like, not that much, but
Oh
I
my
am.
gosh.
Oh, that's
Go
good
work
though.
with you.
Yeah. Happy to finally work there.
This will be good.
Did you not
Mine
work
too.
in person last time?
Nope.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
I've been there a couple times, but never worked
Mhm.
there.
Interesting. Cool. Welcome, Tim. I don't think I've actually met you yet. Were you at orientation and I just didn't see your face?
Maybe I was there,
Okay.
so
Okay, cool. Awesome. Hello.
hi, morning.
I'm Kiana. Oh man. Well, we're gonna wait a little bit longer. It is just 9. We're gonna wait a little bit longer for people to show up. But this is my first time providing this workshop for you all. So bear with me. I am always a little bit nervous about like giving presentations for like, I don't know, the first time. Usually like Monday, I'm nervous. I'm like working out all the kinks, and then I give the presentation again on Tuesday and I'm like, I've got this down because I did it yesterday. So yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Got this.
Okay, got Natalie. Let's see. Tim and Samaya. Is Malia here? I don't see her yet. And Elva's not here. Sarah's here. Kenzie, Tiffany, Natalie. I don't see Carly yet. Oh, Elva just got here. Cool. Hello. Angie's here. I'm just taking roll, you guys. You can start talking. I'll shut up. I'll put myself on mute. Well, so we're just waiting for, looks like Malia, Carly, Sabrina, and Kaylee. Kara or Kara and Koa are gonna watch it on Zoom. You don't think Carly's gonna make it? Okay.
No. Yeah, she's driving up to Camarillo right now. It's a long story.
Oh, okay. Okay. I will then I'm gonna put her down as not attended, but then I'm gonna put it in like a light yellow to be like, you might watch it later. Who just got here? Oh, Kaylee. Okay, cool. Welcome, Kaylee. So Malia and Sabrina are the ones we're waiting for, who are gonna come and not like watch it online or something. I mean, watch it later. We're already online. We're online already. Okay, well, we do only have an hour, so I think I might just get started. Let's see. Okay, and I apologize if you hear someone else talking. That is, okay, so I live with another family. The dad, his office is literally right next to my room. And so we work like on the wall together. So if you hear like a man like with a very deep voice, like right now, he was just like, Brian, I'm like, that's him. That's him. Okay. So obviously most of you are only really taking this because you haven't taken it before, is what I'm assuming. So let me share my screen. Okay. And then make you guys gallery view over in this little window so I can actually see you all. All right. So tutoring oral presentations. Now I'm going to assume that all of you have possibly actually given an oral presentation before. If not, that's okay. I came to college so I transferred from community to CI, and I hadn't given an oral presentation in or a good oral presentation in community. So the first time I had to do one, I was like, I haven't done this in years. How do I do this? I didn't know about the Writing Center then, or I would have come to them and been like, hey, how do I do this? But we're probably going to have a lot of tutees, or we might have some tutees who are like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Or we'll just have a lot of people who are like, I know what I'm doing, but I have to come here. Most of the time, I feel like when people come for oral presentations, they're really just coming to get their slides looked at to make sure they're answering the prompt. Do you guys have any more like the experienced tutors? Do you have any when do you typically see an oral presentation, if you've seen an oral presentation?
I've had 2 oral presentations, and they were both when the presentation was happening like the day right after or later that day. So for me, at least, they used to be pretty like last minute, like, oh, let's just double check the oral presentation kind of thing.
Yeah. I get those too. So yeah, sometimes they won't be like in advance, right? It's rare to find those students who are like, I want to get this 2 weeks, get this done 2 weeks in advance. You're typically getting students who are like, crap, this is done today and I need to get this done. So yeah, and that's with all or any assignments. All right, we've got Dorothy. Okay, wait, before I forget, just because I know that might happen, I'm checking Dorothy off. Okay. I'm sorry, Sabrina. I'm checking Sabrina
No worries.
off.
I'm sorry about that. Hello.
No, Sabrina, hi, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I am doing great. We're honestly just getting started. So
Oh, thank you so much.
yeah, no worries. Okay, So let me rearrange this. Okay, so tutoring oral presentations. If you guys would like to download this presentation, I can give you the link for this presentation so you can download it. All right, so obviously there are two different kinds of oral presentations. Some of them will be in person, some of them will be online, some of them will be both. My capstone I did in person, but then it was streamed virtually. So I was, you know, talking, I was just talking to the room, but it was also streaming. So sometimes it will have a mix of that. Today, we're going to be looking at prioritizing concerns when we are actually giving, like when we are tutoring those presentations, okay? We're going to look at the priorities for online versus in-person presentations. We're going to be looking at providing oral presentation feedback and recording presentations, whether they are online or in person, okay? Common issues with online or in-person presentations and providing the feedback form. And then a checklist for online or in-person presentations. So this is kind of our agenda for today. At the end, there is like I'll show you those slides, but it's kind of like, this is, if we were to go and do a workshop in a class, as like, here's how to do presentations, we do have those slides in here as well. So, okay. I just opened the chat and got distracted. Right. So this is, I kind of already did this. We were reflecting back on like tutoring oral presentations. Dorothy was saying like, usually they're kind of like last minute, which we do see a lot. Every now and then we do see those students who are like, I want to get this done right, like early, right? I want to know what I'm doing first. But okay, let's see. So, okay. If no one has, does anyone else have anything to say on that note? Like what usually goes well? What do you wish you could improve for your tutorial sessions? And then just in combination with that, how do you think tutoring in person or online oral presentations would be different? So just kind of taking like, if you've never had, you know, if you've never tutored an oral presentation, that's totally okay. That's why we're having this workshop, right? But if you have, what usually goes well? Or what do you want to improve? And is there something that's kind of like, what do you think would be different for tutoring it online or in person? That's okay. Nobody has anything to say.
Well, I had one, I guess. The
Yeah.
last time I tutored an oral presentation, I forgot till midway in to ask if they had like a certain time range they needed to be timed for. And that is very important.
Yes, that is very important. I've forgotten things too, Dorothy, so you're not alone. Yeah, it definitely looking at like asking for the prompt. Even though you might think like, oh, we're just looking at their slides and like making sure they look nice, you still want to be looking at the prompt because maybe they have too many slides or they don't have enough slides, or there is a certain way that they wanted those slides to be formatted. And then again, when you look at that prompt, you can see if there's a time, right? You can see if there's a time limit. So definitely like the prompt is often way more important than you might think. So just making sure that you do that. Yeah, so I totally agree with you, Dorothy. Does anyone have any thoughts on how you might think that like tutoring an oral presentation online or in person could be different? Do you guys, actually, you might not even really know how we used to do the in-person ones, because I believe that that's back too. Does anyone have, just raise your hand if you have any like thoughts on this in general. If you don't, I'm going to do a little spiel. Okay, cool. Alva and Sabrina, because I'm going in alphabetical order. All right, Alva, you go first, and then we'll have Sabrina.
So I haven't actually tutored any oral presentations, but just from my experience giving oral presentations, like especially online with COVID and stuff, like there are different skill sets and things that we need to think about, feedback that we have to give to the tutees, like,
Yeah.
you know, eye contact is always important, whether it's in person or online, but in person, you're like looking around the room, but online, it's like you have to look at the camera. So there are like differences like that for the feedback we give.
Exactly. Exactly. Sabrina, any thoughts?
So I definitely agree with Alva, and the eye contact point is one that I hadn't considered. I was thinking back, so I've never actually tutored in person, but don't we have like a big recording box for that benefit? And like, wouldn't that be a hassle? So I'm thinking it'd be easier online because they're mostly in control. Like they can record themselves online. They can, you know, sort of make sure that the optics are right. They have more control online, and
Yeah.
so we're more of the like passenger seat, whereas in person we have to figure out how the little recording box works. We have to figure out where they should stand. Should they give this should we go outside so they can take off their mask to give a speech to be easier to hear? So many more variables for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. There are a lot more variables when you're tutoring an online or tutoring a oral presentation in person. So we do have that recording box, but that's mostly used for like recording audio. When you're recording, if you're in person, we have it used to be downstairs. I don't know if we still have that room, but basically we have a camera set up. So you can use this camera, it's on a tripod, and you can have them stand in front of a whiteboard or whatever. You can put their slides on the screen, like do this whole, you actually pretend that they're giving a presentation, and you can record them and have them look at themselves and like, because you don't want them to be standing in a certain way. You want them to move. You want them to kind of like engage the audience. So when you record for a in-person presentation, it helps them to see what they look like, because there's no mirror. There's no, like, even thinking about oral presentations that I've given, I'm like, I don't even really remember what I said because I was so nervous, right? So when you're nervous and you can look back and see what you did, that's just like that one difference. But yeah, there's a room with a whole like recording camera. There's also that what Sabrina was mentioning. There's a whole room that's like mostly soundproofed that people can like go and like record their audio things for classes. Yes. Okay, so prioritizing, yay. So prioritizing concerns for online presentations. So this is kind of what we talked about earlier. Ask about the assignment, right? We want to bring up the prompt. We want to know what we're doing. When is it due? How long is the presentation? We want the stage. Okay, so the outline, the draft, previously rehearsed, like what stage in the process of the oral presentation are you at? Figuring out like, do they have anything? Are they like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing? Or have they finished their slides? They know what they want to say. And they're just like, hey, I just need someone to kind of like listen to me and tell me how I'm doing, right? And they could be anywhere in between that. And then you just want to figure out where are they at? What stage are they at in the process? And then is it an individual or group presentation? Because we do both. And does it need recording? If it doesn't need recording, you're good. Just look at it together and kind of go over it. Okay. I just want to say, if at any point you have a question, please don't hesitate to just unmute yourself and start talking. That is typically how we do things here. You can do this. I will see you. I will most likely will not see the little like, hey, someone's raising their hand like virtually. Like I probably won't see that. So just so you know. Okay. And so what would they like to do in their session? That's what that kind of goes with like, what stage are they at in the process? You need to know, what are they looking for from this tutorial session, right? Are they looking for someone to help them with their outline? Or are they just like, I just need someone to figure out, how do I even put slides together? How do I outline my slides? Or like, and that kind of has to do with like, what stage are they at, right? Figure out what they would like to get from this session. So review the assignment prompt, like we were saying, walk through or talk through presentations, whether they're individual or group. Again, review the slideshow and record the presentation. And again, those things will depend on what they're wanting to get from the session. Okay. Some of this is going to be a little bit basic, but it's always good to review these things, because I can attest to this as someone who's going on 2.5 years doing this. We forget things. we forget to look at the prompt. We forget to ask those like typically like actually really important questions. They slip our mind because you're in there and you're just talking to the person, you're getting to know them, and you're just like going through it. And then you're like, crap, I didn't ask that like really important question that I probably should have. So this is why we go over all of these things, right? So again, help them to prioritize based on time, issues of importance, and due date. If it's due really soon, you want to like be like, okay, let's just get the basics down, right? Let's just make sure that you have slides, make sure you know what you're going to say. At some point, it doesn't matter what they look like because they just need to turn something in, right? And again, that's up to them. If they want to spend more time to make that look nice, that is on them. We are here to give them what they came for, in a sense. The assignment is still theirs, right? We could want to make it look as best as we can. That is something that I struggle with. I like things to look really presentable. And when someone doesn't prioritize that like I do, I struggle a little bit. So that's what happens too, is like you might prioritize something in an oral presentation that they're not going to prioritize, and you kind of have to struggle with like being okay with that because it's their presentation, not yours, right? And then again, just issues of importance, due date. If there's something like really off about the visualization of the slides, obviously say something. You don't want to not say something and then have that like points get docked for that. That's why we look at the prompt, right? Okay. Actually, does anyone have any questions on that at all? Or comments or whatever? Okay, cool. So when we give feedback, okay. All right. So when we give feedback, this is, and tips for presentations, meaning overall meanings, whether this is group or individual, okay. So you want to assess the rehearsal or presentation based on the rubric, again, because we're looking at the prompt. And if there is a rubric, those are always really helpful. Sometimes the rubric and the prompt are not the same thing. So ask them if there's a rubric and ask them if there's a prompt, or there probably will be a prompt, but there might not be a rubric. The rubric is like, this is how the professor is going to grade them, right? That's always very helpful. So assess the rehearsal or presentation based on the rubric for the online presentation provided by the instructor. Be sure to write down or get a screenshot of the rubric. I always ask if I can take a screenshot, especially if my sound, like if I'm not wearing headphones and like the sound is on and they hear like that screenshot sound or whatever, and they're like, did you just take a picture of my face? Like they don't know what you just took a picture of, right? So whenever I'm going to take a picture of the prompt or whatever, I'm always like, hi, like, would you mind if I take a screenshot of this? And that just goes for all tutorial sessions, to be honest. This isn't just the ones. Like I always ask, even if I have my headphones in, because again, that's their screen. I don't know. It's private. I would want to be asked, you know? So I always think of it that way. Like, how would I want to be treated? I'm going to do the same for them. In addition, provide feedback on these 4 areas, right? The argument and organization of the presentation, the oral delivery, including the screen view. And this is for a online presentation, right? The slideshow design, if applicable, and the time. So what are they arguing? What are they trying to say? Is that clear? If it's not clear, if the point they're trying to get across is not anywhere in the slideshow or in the presentation, mention that. Oral delivery, how are they delivering that? Are they personable? Are they just very still and like, hi, my name's Kiana. I'm here to present. Like you want to mention those things, right? And how they're doing the screen view. So make sure they know how to, if they're going to be sharing their screen, make sure they know how to do that. Show them, like walk them through that if they don't know how to do that. Maybe they've already sent in their slides and the professor is going to be sharing the screen. That could also be a thing too. And then they don't have to worry about that. That's fine. But figure out what that situation is going to be. And then again, the design, if applicable, that's fairly self-explanatory. If it's so like all over the place, say something. If it looks great, no, tell them that, right? Good things are good too. We don't always want to be like so negative, be like, okay, you change this, and this. And they're like, oh my gosh, like there's so many things to change. Like if there's good things about that, tell them, because you want to give them confidence that they know what they're doing, right? And if they do know what they're doing, because you're going to get some students who come in and they've got it all like planned out. They know how to have a stage presence. They know how to make slides. They know how to organize. They know how to do all these things. Sometimes they're just coming in to get that reassurance that they did it right. I've had those students where like everything looks good and I'm like, so why are you here? And I just asked them, I'm like, why are you here? And they're like, I don't know, I think I'm nervous. I'm like, I think you are too. Like, I think you're okay. And you just have to give them that reassurance, like they've got this, you know, you might have a 2T come in who is one of those overachievers and they've got this and they just need that reassurance that they've got this. So it goes both ways, where it's like they could know absolutely nothing or they could know everything and be so stressed out that they don't know they know everything. So it goes both ways, right? Okay, so yeah, and then time, yes, just making sure you're looking at the prompt, looking at the time. That is one reason it's good to walk them through the slides and have them read them to you so you can look at the time and know how they're doing, okay? All right, argument, organization, you need a hook. Get them to come in, maybe ask the audience a question or just be like, hey, have you ever, I don't know, I'm not good at improvising like that. Have you ever blah, 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 and, you know, just get them to be engaged with you. That is what a hook is, right? And I also want to hook, especially in an oral presentation, because you're not in person. You want to use your hands. You want to like see that you're in the screen, right? You want to engage the audience because they're just staring at a screen, and we do that a lot already. We want them to be engaged, right? Okay, so hooks are really what brings them in. They're emotionally and intellectually connect audience to the topic. Yes, you want it to be professional and appropriate. You don't want it to be so outside of their presentation either that it's like, okay, but what did that have anything to do with what you're going to talk about? Like, I can see that AJ has like this ice cap deal or whatever. I think it's Star Wars going on in the background. So you're like, yeah, have you ever seen Star Wars? And you like start talking about Star Wars, and then your presentation is on like, I don't know, turtles. Like that has nothing to do, you know what I mean? Like you want to make sure your hook is also like relevant in an academic tone or just personable. You just want to be engaging. So that's what you're looking for when you're telling them those things, right? Add the hook before or after the title. Yes, TED Talks often start with their hooks and then they say their title, right? So it can be either or. And then these are the types. You've got an anecdote, a fact, trend, or a pattern, general assumptions, problem, issue. Those are the kinds of things that you want to go with, not have you ever seen Star Wars? You know, a lot of people have, some people haven't. That is okay. We have to live with that. Anyway, okay, off track. Okay, anyone have questions about the hook? Great. Argument and organization. How should they articulate a clear statement of purpose or thesis? So don't just read the title, right? Have an actual thesis or something that you're going to be arguing. What are you going to be telling us about? Let's say it is about turtles, since that's what I brought about, right? Let's say your title is turtles. That's not a thesis, that's a noun, right? So you want to actually have an argument. What are you going to be telling me about turtles? Are you telling me about their shell, or are you telling me about like how they eat plants? Like, are you telling me about their, like, what are you telling me about turtles? Tell me about turtles, right? And you want it to cover what and why does it matter, right? So it's not just, don't tell me just about turtles, tell me about specifically about their digestive system, if that's what you're talking about or whatever. Now my brain's going to be fixated on that. Cool. Okay, so like, right, my presentation is about, and it attempts to clarify, blah, blah, blah. Any questions on that? Cool. Again, argument or an organization. How should students provide a roadmap or signposts into their presentation? These are what I'm really bad at in a presentation. Okay, signposting. I'm not great at that. I really am not. So basically what you would do, signposting is when you're like, okay, so now I'm going to move on to this next topic. So let's say you're covering multiple things about turtles. Let's say you're talking about like what they eat and then how their digestive system, right? So this is what they eat, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm going to be talking about how they digest that food. That's a signpost. I'm not great at that. I know that about myself. And so I have to like, I watch that in myself. But basically, yeah, roadmap can be spoken or presented. Signposts are also like maybe the next person is speaking. So if you're in a group presentation, maybe you're like, okay, and now AJ, since he's right next to me on my screen, so AJ's here and Dorothy's here. So you're my group partners in any situation now. AJ is going to be talking about the digestion of turtles. As I just talked about food, AJ is going to be, you know, like he's the next person. That's another kind of signpost, right? So that's a little bit easier for me. I'm good at that kind of signposting, not when it's individual. Again, clearly signal what you are concluding with, concluding this part, going into this part. Okay. We've got more. Okay. So how should tutors help students to qualify evidence, to use quality evidence to support major claims? Use enough evidence, right? Especially if this is a research presentation, they're probably going to have enough evidence. But if this is just like kind of basic, like, I don't know, they got to choose whatever topic they wanted, like turtles. You want to make sure they have enough evidence to back up what they're trying to say. How do they know that this is the kind of food they eat? How do they know that this is how their digestive system works? That kind of a thing. Cite your evidence, highlight any like maybe very pinpointed like things. Like if you have like a bullet list, you can highlight one of them to be like, this is what you want to do. Or I mean, not actually like physically highlight it, but bring it to the audience's attention, highlight it in their attention, right? I mean, I guess you could technically physically highlight it, but I don't know. I guess I'd have to go with the slide. Yeah, so that's just highlighting more relevant information and remove anything interesting but irrelevant, like Star Wars. I don't think there's any turtles in Star Wars. It's cool, but not relevant, right? Okay, so oral delivery for online and in-person presentations. What should tutors look out for? We mentioned eye contact before. Definitely eye contact. When it's online, just look at the camera. Just make sure that you're looking at the camera. If your slides are off to the side like mine are, that is okay. Just make sure you're coming back here when you're giving your presentation. When it's in person, the eye contact should be 60-40, because it's like you can look at your slides and then you look at the audience. You look at the slides, look at the audience. Online, it's still 60-40, but you just want to make sure that you're giving the audience the attention that they're expecting from you. They're expecting you to look at them and say, hi, this is who I am. This is what I'm presenting. You know, it's a conversation, fairly one-sided for most of it, but it is a conversation and you want to give them that eye contact. Voice. So pacing, how you're saying things, your dictation, the words you use. This is why I love scripts. I don't read them, but they are great to remind you of what you're going to say. Pauses, ums just mean that you don't know what you're really wanting to say. The less ums that you have, and now I'm like right now I'm so conscious of my uhs. The less ums you have, the more confident you sound. So when you're helping someone with their presentation, if you I start to like count and I count on my hand, and if I get up to 5, I mention it. I stop counting after 5, just because that's one hand and that's easier. So you will find your own rhythm, right? If I count 5 ums, and especially if they're close together, I will 100% mention that at the end. They're not great. Voice engagement, again, or vocal engagement, just be friendly. You don't want to just sit there. Hi, yeah, I should have vocal engagement in my presentation. And yeah, you want to like actually have a conversation. Yeah, this was something I struggled with when I was younger. I was not as engaging as I am now. Was not at all. You would be shocked. Monotone, voice is an instrument, right? Exactly. Like I was just saying, you don't want to just sit there. And then your body language and gestures. That is how you communicate. It's your voice, it's your eye contact, it's body language and gestures. They all go together, right? No distracting movements or hand gestures. So don't like stand there and kind of like fiddle with your shirt, or like don't fiddle with your headphones. Sometimes people will go like this, you know, and that's really annoying for like the listeners. Actually, I don't even think this is the mic it's using, but whatever. No, I don't even know. But yeah, no gestures. Those are distracting. You want them to actually listen to the information you're giving them rather than little minute things that you're doing, right? Intentional gestures. Again, you don't want to do like the little habits we have. Actually intentionally use hand gestures. I already use them as I talk, so that's not a problem for me. But there are some people who, again, will just sit there or stand there or whatever, and they won't move their body. You want to be intentional. If we're talking about a turtle's digestive system, you can go like this, and like it's going down the esophagus. I don't know, it's just intentional, right? Again, intentional movement, gestures. What kind of space are they taking up when they're giving their presentation? I do want to mention just real, I don't know, this is something I noticed really recently, but if you're really close to the screen, that's okay, like to be there. But someone has a virtual background, right? You don't want that to be distracting either. Think about the space that you have within the frame, but also within your virtual background, because maybe like my background looks like I'm in a room, right? But some people's backgrounds are like way close, and then you're like back here, or like you don't want anything to be distracting, right? When all else fails, just use one of the basic Zoom backgrounds. Those are simple. And that, again, that's for an online presentation. All right, so I'm gonna look at how many slides do I have left? Oh, I'm okay. Okay, we're making pretty good time. Great, awesome. Okay. So oral delivery for online and in-person presentations, professional appearance and clothing. Again, make sure that you, even if you're on Zoom, at least put a nice top on, something that people are not going to be distracted by, or that you're gonna have to fiddle with while you're giving your presentation, something that's comfortable, something that like you don't have to, like, I don't know, girls have to deal with this more, but like there's a top that'll like move, and then you're like, okay, got to get like comfortable before you can talk. Like that's distracting too. Check what's behind you, like your virtual background, open, visible. I have windows, that's distracting. Sometimes, not always. Keep your background neutral. This is why Zoom backgrounds are amazing. That's just to avoid distractions. Like if you're gonna have people coming in and out, like family members or something, maybe put on a virtual background, just so that people, don't get distracted by that. Sound. So this is hard. Basically, I mean, if family members are going to be coming in and out, maybe you just want to find another place to give the presentation. I have seen people give presentations from their cars, because that's the only place that they had, during the pandemic. It was the only place, because they had a house full of people like me. And so, I mean, I'm very thankful I didn't have to give a presentation in the car, but I did experience that. I had, classmates do that because they didn't have the space. So you can suggest that. It's sad, but but the school is open now. So that was like during COVID and everything was like shut down. We do have the school now. We have the library. We have like, our rooms. They could probably just use one of those little classrooms we have where we tutor. I'd have to ask Abby about that. But that is a possibility. There are more spaces now that will also deal with the sound and the lighting. So just making sure that everything is nice, not distracting, all of that kind of stuff. Get a light that shines on your face. One of the things I was thinking about today before I came to the presentation is the fact that this screen shines onto my glasses. It's not as professional as I would like it to be, but contacts aren't a thing for me right now. So you get the glare, I apologize. But I'm trying to like move my face. You can see my eyes. That is something you want to think about, right? Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Okay. Did it go back? Okay. So use the CPR principles as a guideline. Comprehension, persuasion, retention. When you are listening to their presentation, do you understand? Do you comprehend what they're trying to say? Are they explaining it well, right? Are they if it's very argumentative rather than just informative, are they persuading you to think about what maybe not necessarily like, persuasion is such a weird word, right? They're not necessarily trying to bring you to their side, but are they convincing you to open your mind and think in a different way? That's what we want to engage them in, right? Are they persuading you to think in a new way? And then are you retaining that information? If you're not going to retain it, it's not, what was the point of the presentation, right? The point is to give you information that you're going to want to keep. So these are the things: CPR, comprehension, persuasion, and retention. All right. So anybody have questions on that before we kind of move forward to the next layout of slide? Cool. So, oh, did I go too far? No, that's fine. All right. What are the effective slides for research presentations? They've already done their research. They know what they're going to be talking about. Now they have to present that research in a way that people will comprehend it, will be persuaded by it, and will retain it, right? So slides that are designed intentionally meet the goals of CPR. So as you can see in this slide, it's very clearly designed like, this is the first part, this is the second part, and this is the third part. It's organized in a way that people will visually also be able to comprehend it, right? Not just what the presenter is saying, but also what the viewers are seeing. We're, ears, eyes, mind, it's all connected. It's how we retain. Visualized content helps viewers understand and process dense and complex information 60,000 times faster than words. That is why I love the layout of slides. This is also why I give my Canva presentation, because I love visualization. That's one of my things. I love it, right? People remember up to 80% of what they see compared to 30% of what they read and 10% of what they hear. So while you could have the best script, if your information is not presented visually in a like retentive way, it's not going to be as impactful. You want it to be visually appealing in order for it to be retained. So how do we design for visual comprehension? We prioritize essential information. Remove IBI info. Unfortunately, I don't know what IBI means. I was given these
Interesting but irrelevant.
Yes, that's right. It was on this. I was like, I'm sure this was on the previous slide. I'm like, it was there. It was there. Thank you. Thank you, Alba. Interesting but irrelevant info. Like Star Wars. And when we're talking about turtles. Very font size based on importance. Do you see how here, the title is big, a little bit, I think it's a little bit bigger than this text. Maybe it's not. But that is one thing you can do. Order, simplify, clarify layout and language. Instead of just text, visualize chronology, yep, problem solution, hierarchy, etc. It can be any of those. You just want to also if they have a research paper, it's probably in one of these layouts already. I would just say use your paper as your outline for your presentation. Sometimes people write their paper and then they need to do a presentation. They're like, how do I do that? I'm like, just use your paper. Go start with that. And then if it doesn't make sense, then you change it. Keep it simple. You don't need to make things more complicated than they have to be. Okay. So, what do we have here? I do remember this. You know, when you're like, okay, so this is me. I'm giving a presentation, right? An oral presentation. And you like go through your slides, but you mostly get to the first slides before you get to the end slides. This is what's happening right now. So this is a slide from a research paper. So in March 2011, CertGov GE had discovered botnet command and control web server after analyzing web observer malicious files, blah, blah, blah. This is how they presented their information, right? They did a research paper. They're presenting, I think what they're doing is they're presenting a source that they found is kind of what it seems like. I honestly am not like super thrilled with this layout, right? It's literally just information. It's just information put on a slide, and the reader was probably going to do exactly what I just did. Just start reading it, right? I can do that as an observer. I could do that on my own. I don't want someone to just read me slides. I want someone to tell me information in a way that is engaging, right? If I'm just reading this off, that's not engaging. And the observer is not going to retain that as well as they could. So this is what it is. Text-based chronology of a cyber attack, listing sequence of events. So engagement, numbered order. However, there's no visual emphasis on the action of the malicious script. May be hard to retain all the info, right? So it is like, it does give someone information, but it's not as like, yeah, it's not where we want to go. Okay, so this is a visual one, right? So visualized chronology of a cyber attack using timestamp and icons. So difficult to see. Background's a little busy, yeah. I would probably choose a different background, but overall, I feel like this is a good, like, it's a good visual. I'm going to be looking at this rather than just reading it, right? Okay, how do we design for visual persuasion? So if you don't have data visualizations, you can quote one. Yes. So as you can see in this slide, it's just a visual, right? And then obviously the presenter is probably just going to provide the fact while looking at the visual. That helps a lot too. It's a little bit easier to look at. You can look at this stuff and then you're listening to something that's not on there. So you're not trying to have to like pay attention to too many things at once. I like these kinds. And then that's why you have a script. So then you're in your little speaker notes, you just write what you want to say and you're good to go. And citing it, that is also important. Quoting and citing, okay? Presenter added colored arrows and circles to an original drawing. Great. That is also something you can do. What you can do is like, okay, so on this slide, right, we had this slide, and then I went next, and it brought up some arrows. That's also what you can do. So on this slide, you could make the little circles and the arrows pop up as you're talking about them. That is always nice. Okay, and then how do we design for retention? Use harmonious colors. Yes. Okay, Adobe Color Wheel. If you don't know what this is, I can show you later. You can also Google it. Basically, you can choose any color on that color wheel and it will show you all of the other colors that will go with that one color that you want. It's brilliant. It was actually one of the ways I chose some of the colors for our social media. So it is a wonderful tool. It's brilliant. Vocalize key concepts on each slide. Bring attention to one or two key points on that slide, right? You can have, and again, like we're saying, like you can download these slides so you can look at them later. You can do the same thing if you want to for them. Have them be able to download those and they can go and read it later. And you're just focusing on a few ideas on that slide. All right, so here is a text heavy slide, but also has like a little bit of a graphic. In this case, what I would do is not read this out loud. I would have, this would probably be something I might put on a slide. If I was going, like these would be slides I would let someone download, right? I could put this on here and then say what I needed to say very quickly and just be like, you know, if you want, and remind them, if you would like to download my slides, I can provide the link to you at the end, that kind of a thing. Just because this is a lot, this is too much to have someone just listen to as they read it off, but it is visually appealing at the same time. So that would probably be my deal for that. I'm going a little quicker now because I'm looking at the time. Okay, so any questions so far though? Cool. So how do we help organize time? Presentation length 12 minutes, question and answers 5 minutes. So this is typically how we might like do this. Now, typically I would ask like, how do you think we might do this? Right? I would ask you like, how long do you guys think we would give to these things? For time's sake, I'm just going to show you what are typical. You don't want to spend too much time on the intro. Most of the time is going to be in the background and research. So this is what we would say. 2 minutes for intro. If this presentation is 12 minutes, right? 2 to 3 minutes on the background, 5 to 6 minutes on your research so far, and then 1 to 2 minutes on a conclusion. The bulk of the time is going to be in the middle, right? And that's just for a general audience. If you have people in that room who already know what you're talking about, maybe you can spend more time on other things. But you would just want to make sure that you're providing the right amount of time to them and you're helping them work through that, right? Okay, so we're going to move on to recording, how to record when you are in person and online. Does everyone know how to do recording on Zoom? We kind of did this on Friday when we did our pitches. Basically, okay, so this is just a scenario. TT will be meeting with you in your Zoom room, except for new tutors, you're going to be in breakout rooms in the main drop-in room. They will be pressing the record button on Zoom. This isn't always true because I don't give permission to anybody but me to record in my room. I don't want them to have that kind of power. So what I usually do, okay, we're going to walk through this and then I'll say my little thing. I want to make sure I go through these slides. I keep seeing Samai's smiling face and thinking she's actually like that's her like real face. And I'm like, wow, like, yay, we're so happy. And anyway, Samai, I like your picture. Okay, so tutors need to talk through the process before the tutee starts recording. And that is if you would like to give the tutee permission to record within your Zoom room, right? So initiate recording request, they're gonna press record. That will ask me to say like, yes, they can record. Allowing recording, tutor should have the participants bar open, click more, drop down menu, click on allow record. So in your Zoom rooms, if you click on, well, I don't know that I can really show you. Oh, does it, let's see, does it have a slide? Yes. Okay, so when you're in a Zoom meeting and it's your Zoom room, you can click on at the bottom, it'll have a thing called participants. It'll show you who's in that Zoom room. You click more on that person and then to allow them to record. This is actually probably a better way than I have been doing it in the past. Just realizing this now. But that is how you would do that generally. So yes, right here, allow record. Yeah, Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about that? It's probably something you're gonna have to experience too, and just kind of like look at it when you're in your own Zoom room. But are there any initial questions about that? Cool. Okay, Zoom recording guide. Initiate recording request. Oh, did someone have a question? I heard noise.
Okay, so if they record,
Mhm.
isn't that then on your computer?
I believe it would record to their computer because
Because
they're
I-
the one that initiated the recording.
Because when we did the recording at the meeting on Friday, it was
Mhm.
on Carly's computer, not mine.
Okay.
Wouldn't this all just be easier if we just had them use their own camera, or
What the
going on
purpose of
Zoom
it
instead of
is?
their own camera? So
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. The purpose of this is to be able to be there with them, right? So, or
sharing
it's,
their screen, wouldn't you be there with them, or if you're looking at their camera? I guess I'm just trying to figure out why.
it's so that they can also have a recording of your feedback. They can have, like, if they want to record the whole session,
Oh,
they could record your feedback as well.
um,
Just so that they can look back on that and things like that. There are some, like I had, this isn't necessarily an oral presentation, but this is an example of recording. I had a student who was with DOS. They had an auditorial, they couldn't process auditorially very well. So they wanted me to record the entire session so that they could go back and listen to it and
Oh.
watch it again. So it's kind of like, it's in circumstances like that where they could just need to go back and record it, but it's kind of like that with oral presentations. You're giving them feedback and they might not remember what you said, so then they can go back and look at that feedback and listen to it again, and it'll help them to go through that. Does that make sense?
yeah, no, that makes sense. So they're not, because the secondary problem with the recording that we did on Friday was that I couldn't look at it right away. I had to wait
Right.
till you found it and email me, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, and that's going to be the same
Yeah,
thing.
that's-
Unless this would
yeah.
actually work and it would record to their computer, that would be how you would have to do it. Give them a link and then they would be able to download it and they'd have to go through it that back way. Yeah.
Oh, I just was trying to figure out how you would review it during the session, I guess is what my question is.
Oh, so, okay, I get you. So basically, let's say that I just had a 2T, they gave me their presentation. We wouldn't review the video together. I would just give them feedback on the presentation that they just gave to me right then. And then they would be able to go back and look at it themselves later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes more sense, because I'm like trying to figure out, well, how do you?
Yeah.
If
you- If you were doing this in person, you were using the camera in the room and everything, then you could together go to that camera and watch the presentation. It's just a little bit different on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, we have about 4 minutes. So I will give you guys these slides, but you know, recording is fairly self-explanatory. If you have questions, I'm pretty versed in this and all that, but this is what it'll look like. Recording to the computer, that's what the file would probably be named. Okay, the next thing that they have going for us is tips. So let's see what we've got. Tips for in-person rehearsals recordings. Oh, yeah, 'cause that was all like, okay, so ask if they want any signals for timed rehearsals. Like, hey, they can only do 5 minutes. You want me to let them know when it's 4, and then they know they have a minute left. Write down the names of the presenters before they start so that you can write appropriate notes for each presenter. That is a good tip. Use abbreviations for feedback categories. You might want to write D for delivery, V for visuals or slideshow, A for argument. How are you going to take your notes in order to give them feedback, right? And then there's also an oral presentation feedback sheet that I can give you the link to. I believe that's linked in these slides, actually. Keep track of their time because they're not going to always be able to do that for themselves. Okay, self-introduction, introduce yourself. Students, forgot the time limit. Oh yeah, so this is just making sure, like, if they're going over, like, you don't necessarily have to stop them unless they wanted you to do that. Sometimes they want to just be able to keep going and get through it. Okay, let them do that. Again, this session is for them. You know, tell them that there's no roadmaps or transitions or signaling signposts. Unprepared. You need to rehearse more. If they're nervous or anxious, which is totally normal, tell them that. Students are reading from their notes. You know, just that's a rehearsal thing. They just got to rehearse more. Inconsistent slides. Make sure that the visuals are consistent. You don't want it to be all over the place because then there's no retention, right? CPR. There's no, if every single slide is a different layout, no one's going to retain that. They're just going to remember the inconsistent slides. Text heavy slides, again, we don't want that unless you're going to allow, you know, the observers to download these at the end. You don't really want too much information on there. Again, visual chaos, no directions or vectors. Then groups, no passing of the baton. Again, that's like that signposting, like, hey, okay, now I'm going to give the baton to Dorothy. She's going to go and do this thing now, right? Not enough balance in speakers. You want to give everybody enough time or a balanced amount of time talking. Repetition of ideas, or they're not unified. So you're repeating too many ideas. You're just talking about turtles. Or you're talking about turtles in Star Wars, and that's not unified enough, right? You gotta keep it succinct. Okay, there is an oral presentation feedback form. Now I can't just like copy this right here, but again, I will provide, what we'll do is I'll just do this. I'm gonna put it in the chat now. So please bookmark this. If you are giving an oral presentation, this is the feedback form for that. And this is really good if they didn't necessarily record anything. This is also really good for, okay, bye. I know, sorry, I'm like so close. Okay, so this is the oral presentation feedback form. This is really nice for if you didn't really record, and also just as a refresher for them to go over what they just talked about, right? Especially if it was an hour-long session, they're probably going to forget a lot of what you just talked about. Okay. So best practice, summary of steps, explain how the WMC tutoring session will be conducted, like basically how, like at the beginning, get what their expectations are and then give them expectations as well, that what they're going to be able to get from you. Rehearse and provide oral feedback, oral presentation feedback, use that feedback form as needed. Record as many takes as they want. They should not be limited. They should not be, we shouldn't be saying, oh no, that's too many, right? Just keep going. And then ask students to fill out that survey, which is in those COVID links, okay? I can get that for you too. Exercise, impromptu. We're not going to do that. So, okay, if you guys don't have to leave, I will stay and answer some questions. If you do have to go, please do so. That is totally fine. If you all leave, that is again totally fine. But if you do have questions, you can always ask me later. Okay, awesome. Yes, Sarah has raised her hand. Sarah, did you have a question? I'm sorry. Oh, you're on mute, if you didn't know.
Sorry. Oh, well, that probably is why you can't hear me.
That's okay.
Anyway, oh, sorry. Anyway, real quick, are you going to email the link for the slides? Or?
Yes, I can do that. And actually what I'll do is I'm just going to go to the top. Okay, so in this, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. And I'm gonna show you this one. So this, where we like signed up for the workshops,
Okay.
what I'm gonna do is put it here, okay? So there's a link to the slides. I'll put it in this one actually also.
Oh, okay, so it'll be just on the Google Doc where the,
Yeah, because I don't necessarily have a way to, you know,
oh, that's
It's
fine. That's great.
just email
'Cause I
all of
have that,
you
so-
specifically.
No, that's,
So I'll just put it here.
okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, and thanks for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm running out of time.
Oh, that's gonna be me tonight. Like I have an hour, but I have like 20 something slides and I don't know what I was thinking.
There were like 50
So-
slides in this, Sabrina.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So he made it, right? Or like, so he worked on a lot of it?
I'm pretty sure this is the presentation they've been using for a few years. And I think so he made them. I don't think Abby made them.
This
I
gives
think
me
so.
so he vibes.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
50 slides for an hour.
And there's lots
So-
of transitions like within the slides. Like I don't do that. I
Mhm.
just put it all on there and go. Yeah, I don't
same.
use the animations a lot. So yeah, this gives me big Sohi vibes. Props to her for working
Right?
all of this out because dude, I know. She's awesome. I
For
want her
sure.
back.
She's coming back. Yeah, like in February.
I think so.
March?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
In time for Platathon. So yeah, looking forward to
Yes,
having like a
yes.
full writing center again.
I know. But it'll be good. Yeah. All right. Well,
sure.
I have
Sounds good.
I only have like an hour-ish break until my next presentation.
Oh,
So
good luck. Break a
I'm
leg.
gonna
Have a
peace
great one.
out. Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Bye.
I'll see